He left on a Friday. Not dramatically, that is the first thing I want you to understand. There was no screaming, no shattered dishes, no door pulled from its hinges by the specific force of a man making a statement. Marcus left the way water leaves a glass that has been tilting for months, quietly, completely, and in the direction gravity had always intended. My name is Zora. I am 39 years old. On a Friday evening in September, I came home from a meeting that had changed everything about my professional life and found my husband sitting at the kitchen table with his hands folded and his wedding ring already on the table between his hands like a punctuation mark at the end of a very long sentence. Our daughter Lily was at her grandmother's for the weekend. This was not a coincidence. He had planned it for when Lily would not be there, which told me two things: that he had been thinking about this long enough to plan it, and that he was not entirely without the care that I had married him for 12 years ago. Zora, he said. Marcus, I said. I need to tell you something. I set my bag down near the door. I had learned, in 12 years of marriage and 15 years before that of simply being alive in a body that the world consistently underestimated, to set things down before receiving difficult information. It keeps your hands free. He told me about Camille. My best friend Camille, who had been in my life since we were both 22 and sharing a terrible apartment and a shared conviction that we were going to make something of ourselves in this city. Who had held my hand when Lily was born. Who had been at every dinner, every birthday, every moment that required the specific witness of someone who loves you. He had been seeing her for 7 months. They were in love. He was sorry. I looked at the ring on the table. I thought about the papers I had signed that morning. Not the divorce papers. Those would come later, and they would be straightforward. The other papers. The ones that made me, as of 9 a.m. Monday morning, the new regional director of operations for Vertex Solutions. Camille's company. Before I tell you about Monday, I need to tell you what I had known and for how long, because knowing and not acting on knowing is its own kind of discipline that deserves to be understood accurately. I had known about Marcus and Camille for 4 months. Not from evidence I went looking for, from evidence that arrived the way evidence always arrives when two people are not being careful enough. A text notification I saw by accident. A behavioral shift in Marcus that was too specific to be work stress. And the particular quality of Camille's warmth toward me in those months that had the specific texture of warmth that is working very hard to cover something else. I had filed all of this. Not from strategy. From the specific habit of a woman who has spent 15 years in organizational management and who understands that the most important thing you can do with information is understand it accurately before you decide what it requires of you. What it had required of me was this: 3 months of careful professional maneuvering that I want to describe precisely, because the precision is the point. I had been working for the past 2 years as a senior operations consultant, independent, contract-based, with 3 primary clients. One of those clients was Vertex Solutions, the mid-sized technology services company where Camille had been chief marketing officer for 3 years. Vertex had been going through a leadership transition. Their regional director of operations had resigned in July. The search for a replacement had been conducted through an executive recruitment firm, a firm whose process I had known about since August, because one of the recruiters was a professional contact who had asked, quietly, whether I would be interested. I had been interested. I had interviewed 4 times. I had not told Marcus. I had not told Camille. Not from secrecy, from the specific professional judgment that conversations about potential positions have a way of producing outcomes before the outcome is confirmed, and that the cleanest professional transitions happen without the emotional weight of other people's anticipation. I had been offered the position on a Wednesday. I had taken 48 hours to consider it. I had signed on Friday morning at 9 a.m. Marcus told me about Camille at 7 p.m. He had told me 10 hours too late to change anything. I did not sleep that night. Not from grief, though grief was present, the specific grief of 12 years and a ring on a kitchen table and the particular loss of someone who was your best friend before they were anything else. I did not sleep because I was thinking, and the thinking was more important than the sleeping, and I have always been better in the specific quality of dark morning silence that arrives between 2 a.m. and 5 than in any other productive environment. Marcus had gone to stay with his brother. He had offered to sleep on the couch. I had told him that was not necessary and that he should go. He had gone with the specific relief of someone who is grateful not to have to negotiate the geography of a space they have just blown apart. I sat at the kitchen table where his ring was still sitting. I picked it up. I put it in the small dish near the sink where we kept loose change and keys, and the accumulated small objects of a shared daily life. Then I made coffee. I thought about Camille. Not with anger. I want to be precise about this, because the anger would come later and would be appropriate, and I am not pretending it wouldn't. But in that specific 2am quality of honest thinking, I thought about Camille with the same accuracy I had always tried to bring to things I cared about. She was brilliant. A genuinely talented marketing strategist who had built Vertex's brand presence from an afterthought into a significant market position across 3 years of work that I had watched and respected. She was warm in the ways I had always known and calculating in the ways I had only recently understood. She was the kind of woman who could hold two truths simultaneously without the friction between them becoming visible. She had held this one for 7 months. I thought about Monday. I thought about walking into Vertex Solutions at 9 a.m. as the new regional director of operations, a role that sat 2 levels above Camille's in the organizational structure and that carried direct oversight of 3 operational divisions, one of which was marketing. Camille would report to me. I had not planned this. I needed to be clear about that with myself first, and then with whoever asked later. Lily was 9 years old. She came home Sunday evening with the specific energy of a child returning from her grandmother's, slightly overstimulated, carrying a paper bag of things her grandmother had sent back with her. Already talking before the door was fully open about something that had happened with the neighbor's dog. I let her talk. I had been waiting for her. Not impatiently, I had been using the weekend to do what I needed to do. I had called my attorney. I had called my sister. I had sat with the professional implications of Monday in the specific careful way that I sat with everything that required me to be accurate before I was reactive. But I had also been waiting for Lily, because Lily was the reason everything I had built mattered and the person for whom the discipline of the past 4 months had been most directly exercised. She dropped her bag inside the door. She looked at me. Children have the specific radar of people who have not yet learned to disguise what they perceive. "Mama," she said. "I'm okay," I said. "Where's Daddy?" I had prepared for this. Not with a script, with the specific understanding that 9 years old deserves honesty at the right scale. "Daddy is going to be staying somewhere else for a while," I said. "We're going to talk more about it when we've both had some time to think, but I want you to know that nothing about how much we love you has changed." She looked at me for a long moment. Then she came and sat beside me on the couch. She did not say anything for a while. Then she said, "Is it going to be okay?" I thought about a ring in a dish near the sink. About papers signed at 9 a.m. on a Friday. About Monday morning. "Yes," I said. "It is going to be okay." I meant this completely. That is the thing about the truth. It is always the easiest thing to say when it is accurate. I called my sister Paula on Saturday morning. Paula was 43 years old, for years older than me, a high school principal in the kind of school that requires everything you have every single day and that has, across 20 years of everything every day, produced in my sister the specific quality of someone who cannot be rattled by information, no matter what shape it arrives in. She answered on the first ring. "Tell me," she said. I told her everything. Marcus. Camille. The Friday. The ring on the table. The papers I had signed that morning. The Monday morning that was coming. She was quiet through all of it, the specific listening quiet of someone who is receiving everything and organizing nothing until the whole picture has arrived. When I finished, she said, "How long have you known about Marcus and Camille?" "For months," I said. "And you said nothing," she said. "I was waiting to understand what it required," I said. "And the job." "I didn't know about the job for most of those 4 months," I said. "The recruiter contacted me in August. The overlap is real, but it isn't planned." "I believe you," she said. Not quickly, with the specific weight of a woman who has known me for 39 years and whose belief means something. "What do I do about Monday?" I said. She was quiet for a moment. "You go," she said. "You do the job correctly. You manage Camille with the same professional standard you would apply to anyone who reports to you. You do not use the position against her, and you do not pretend the personal situation doesn't exist. You tell HR about the relationship history before your first day. You document everything. That's what I thought, I said. You called me to hear you had thought correctly, she said. Yes, I said. She laughed the laugh I had known my whole life. Zora, she said. You have always been the most prepared person in the room. The room just got bigger. I held the phone and looked out the window at the September morning. The room had gotten considerably bigger. I walked into Vertex Solutions at 8:52 a.m. on a Monday in September. The building was the specific functional modernity of a mid-sized technology company that has grown faster than its aesthetic, good bones, practical lighting, the slight organized chaos of people who are very busy doing something that matters to them. I had dressed with intention. Not performance, intention. A structured dark charcoal blazer over a fitted ivory blouse, dark tailored trousers, pointed-toed dark leather heels, small gold hoop earrings, plain watch on my left wrist. The clothes of a woman who understands that the first day in a new role is itself a form of communication. The head of HR, a woman named Deirdre who had been my point of contact through the offer process, met me in the lobby. Welcome, Ms. Zora, she said. We're very glad you're here. Thank you, I said. Before we begin the orientation, I need about 15 minutes with you privately. She looked at me. Of course, she said. In her office, I told her what she needed to know. That I had a prior personal relationship with one of the people who would be reporting to me, Camille, the CMO. That the personal relationship had recently changed in ways that were relevant to the professional one. That I wanted it documented before my first interaction with any team member, and that I wanted her guidance on the appropriate disclosure and management protocols. Deirdre listened with the complete attention of a 20-year HR professional receiving a disclosure that is more honest than most. I appreciate you telling me before your first day was an hour old, she said. It was the correct thing to do, I said. Yes, she said. It was. We spoke for 20 minutes. Then I went to the all-team welcome meeting. Camille was in the room. She saw me when I walked in. I watched her face do the specific rapid reorganization of a woman receiving information she did not have and was not prepared for. I met her eyes. I nodded once, professionally, warmly, with exactly the amount of acknowledgement that a new director gives to a department head on a first day. Then I addressed the room. She found me after the meeting. I had expected this. I had thought about it specifically, where it would happen, how I would receive it, what I needed the conversation to be and not be. I had decided that I would not seek her out and that I would not avoid her. What happened would happen in whatever space it found. It found the hallway outside the conference room at 11:17 a.m. Zora, she said. Camille, I said. She was carrying a tablet and a notebook and the specific physical language of a woman who is holding herself very still because the alternative is visible collapse. I didn't know, she said. About the position. I had no idea you had applied. I know, I said. This is, she started. Complicated, I said. Yes. A pause. I owe you more than a hallway conversation, she said. You do, I said. But a hallway is what we have right now, so let me say what I need to say here and we can find a better room later. She waited. I am going to do this job correctly, I said. That means I am going to manage this department with the same standard I would apply to any department. Your work has been strong. I have watched it for 2 years as a consultant, and I know what you are capable of. That does not change because of what has happened between us personally. Zora. I'm not finished, I said. She was quiet. What happened with Marcus is something we are going to have to address separately, I said. Not here. Not in this building. But I want you to know that I am not going to be the kind of person who uses a professional position to conduct a personal war. That is not who I am, and it would not be who I want Lily to see me be. She looked at me. Her eyes were the eyes of someone who has just been given more grace than they expected and who does not yet know what to do with it. Thank you, she said. Don't thank me yet, I said. I said I'd manage you fairly. I didn't say it would be comfortable. I walked back to my office. The weeks after Monday were the specific complicated weeks that follow when a professional and a personal crisis occupy the same calendar. The divorce was filed on a Wednesday 3 weeks after the Friday. Marcus and I handled it with the particular dignity of two people who had loved each other genuinely and who were determined to manage the ending of that love in a way that did not additionally damage the daughter who was watching. He called once to ask if I had known about the job before he told me about Camille. I told him the truth. That I had signed the papers that morning. that I had not known about the position when I discovered his relationship with Camille 4 months earlier. That the overlap was real and the timing was what it was. He was quiet for a long time. "So you've known for 4 months," he said. "Yes," I said. "And you?" "I did my job," I said. "The way I always have." Another silence. "I'm sorry, Zora," he said. "For all of it." I believed him. Sorrow is not the same as having done differently, and they are not the same as adequate, but they are the things Marcus had available, and I received them for what they were. At Vertex, the work was demanding and clarifying in the specific way that genuinely demanding work is clarifying. I had 3 operational divisions to assess, a team of 42 people to understand, and a set of systemic inefficiencies that my 2 years of consulting work had given me a precise picture of. I began addressing them in the specific order of their impact. Camille's marketing team was the last division I assessed, not from avoidance, but from the specific professional judgment that the most complicated relationship in a new role should be approached after the simpler ones have established your standard. When I reached her correctly. She had been watching how I operated for 3 weeks. When I sat across from her in her office with my assessment notes, she was the most prepared she had ever been for a conversation with me. It was the first honest professional conversation we had ever had. The honest professional conversation lasted 2 hours. I want to tell you about it because it was the climax of the story that was not the climax anyone was expecting, including me. We went through the marketing division's performance metrics. We identified 3 areas of significant strength and 2 of meaningful underperformance. We discussed the underperformance with the specific shared vocabulary of 2 people who have both spent years doing this kind of work and who, stripped of the personal, are genuinely good at it together. At the 90-minute mark, Camille set down her pen. "Can I say something that isn't about the metrics?" she said. "Yes," I said. She looked at her hands. "I have been watching you for 3 weeks," she said. "Watching how you walk into rooms. How you listen. How you handle the people who are uncertain about the transition. How you never use the position to make anyone feel small." I waited. "I thought I knew who you were," she said. "I've known you for 17 years. And I realized 3 weeks ago that I had known the version of you that fit next to my version of myself." She paused. "I had never seen the full version." I sat with this. "The full version," I said, "has been here the whole time." "I know that now," she said. "What did you think was here?" I said. She looked at me. "Someone who was comfortable," she said. "Someone who was content with the outline of things." "And now?" I said. "Now I think," she said quietly, "that the outline was a choice you made about how much of yourself to show. And I think I benefited from you making that choice for a very long time." I looked at my assessment notes. "The marketing division," I said, "is going to be your strongest quarter yet. The bones are good. We just need to address the 2 underperformances." I picked up my pen. "Shall we continue?" She looked at me for a moment. Then she picked up her pen. "Yes," she said. We continued. Here is what I kept from a ring on a kitchen table and a Friday and a Monday and 17 years of a friendship that became something else. I kept Lily. She is 9 years old, and she has her father's wide forehead and my grandmother's eyes, and she is the most accurate person I have ever known, the specific accuracy of someone who has not yet learned to manage what she perceives for other people's comfort. She asked me once, 3 months after the Friday, whether I was sad. I told her the truth, that I was sad about the right things and not the wrong ones, and that the difference between those 2 kinds of sad was something I was still learning to navigate. She nodded as though this was the kind of answer she had expected, and went back to her homework. She was right to expect it. I kept Paula's sentence. "You have always been the most prepared person in the room." The room just got bigger. I have written this on a card that sits on the right side of my desk at Vertex, where I can see it at the end of every meeting. Some days the room is very large and the preparation feels barely adequate. Paula's sentence is always true anyway. I kept the understanding this is the hardest one, that I had been making myself smaller than I was. Not for Marcus specifically. For the specific comfort of the version of myself that fit neatly alongside the people I loved. The full version had been there the whole time. It is simply occupying more of the available space now. I kept what Camille said about the outline being a choice. She was not wrong. I had chosen the outline for reasons that were not weakness, but that had, over time, produced a version of my life that was less than the accurate one. The accurate version is larger and more complicated and significantly lonelier in certain specific ways, and I would not trade it. I am 39 years old. My husband left me on a Friday. My best friend was the reason. I signed papers that morning that made me their boss by Monday. I went to work. I did the job correctly. The room keeps getting bigger. I keep being ready for it. If this story reached something in you, if you have ever been living as a smaller version of yourself than the one that actually exists, I want to hear about it in the comments. What room did you discover you were already prepared for? Stories like this one stay alive because people carry them forward. Share this with someone who needs it today. And if you would like more stories told honestly, the way things worth keeping deserve to be told, subscribe. We will be here. The end.